Every year, an untold amount of people from home or abroad travel into London to have a look at its history, which it has in droves. But they tend to go to places where history is sort of sold to them, such as the City of London, where they have to ask permission to see the relics underground of Rome, or maybe to the palace, which is pretty much presented for them. Little do they realise how much actual history exists on the banks of the River Thames. Now, only down in Vauxhall, for instance, there's supposed to be some wooden structures which are alleged to date 3,000 years. And let's remember that the Britons, pre-Roman settlements, under names such as Boudicca with the Iceni, they would have been living in these regions and making makeshift rafts and what have you here, and working on what was a much bigger river. So if you're travelling into London, to be honest, if you really want to see its actual history, if you really want to walk over parts of Roman Britain, I suggest that you get onto the riverbank at the times that permit you to do so. These bits of timber, these chains, these bricks, and what's beneath my feet are far more special than meets the eye. You could be looking at anything Anglo-Saxon England, you could be looking at something without realising it, which has been sitting there for millennia. It's very difficult to look graceful. Well, I've always said since I was young, you can't look cool walking downhill, and you can't look graceful walking on gravel. So this old flooring here, as you can see, if you come over here for me, please, cameraman. At least if I go down, it's on camera, ladies and gents, eh? But this is actually a part of London's real history, which you don't need to pay to go and see. So in central London, for instance, in the City of London, the buildings I won't name, which actually sit above pre-Christian relics, which I find somewhat disrespectful, that the City of London is very guilty for it, for privatising land and in my opinion, taking things that really weren't theirs to take. So relics such as this, which still exist in the elements of the River Thames without the protection of security, for me, it's just the pinnacle of brilliance. This to me really brings me closer to home, more so than if I was looking through a screen, if I was at the Imperial War Museum or at the Science Museum. This is as good as anything that they can produce, within reason, but it's here and I can stand on it, and that's really special. It's a beautiful moment as well if you do get down here. Usually you have to do it at the right time, obviously when the tide's out, otherwise it would be a little bit difficult to look at it in scuba gear. But before we take off, turn around for me, cameraman, and have a pan down there just so you can see how much is here. And this is where we get the term mudlarking. Mudlarkers are people, you might have seen them, and you need a license for this, you can't just do it. They are the people that forage for goodies. Now, they're not allowed to dig past a certain point, and if they find anything of too high value, they have to hand it in anyway. So your license is only going to get you something if it's vaguely interesting. If it's incredibly interesting or priceless, guess what? You're having it taken off you, because apparently it belongs to London instead of the people, which I couldn't disagree with anymore. Now, just have a look at these bars here that we were looking at. They actually, as you can see, they helped make up almost like sleepers within this stone foundation, which we was wondering, you know, this would have, all that would have been cranes. This would have been a very heavily used wharf. So this foundation may have been built upon its previous use. But what a wonderful morning and a wonderful place to be. Have one more pan down there for me, cameraman.